press and members of the general public, and those who are friends and follow Liberia and Liberia's activities. I'd like to welcome you to another edition of our weekly press briefing here at the Executive Mansion. And today is Friday, March 7th. This is the first press briefing in the month of Ramadan. And as you all could remember, last week on Saturday, His Excellency the President did congratulate our Liberians, brothers and sisters who are Muslim and fasting during this holy month of Ramadan. And I'd like to add my voice to His Excellency to ask our Muslim brothers and sisters to pray for our country and wishing all of you a blessed holy month of Ramadan. As you all may say, Ramadan Mubarak. Today also happens to be the commemoration of International Women's Day, a day globally celebrated on March 8th as the day to celebrate women, to highlight women's successes, challenges, and also talk about issues affecting women. And as you all know, Liberia plays an important role in all of this, in commemoration of the Beijing Plan of Action, a meeting that happened in 1995 in China to highlight the work women play. And President Boakai has congratulated the women globally, but most importantly, the Liberian women. And today, the Minister of Gender, Children's and Social Protection is representing him at the program. As you know, tomorrow is the official day, but because tomorrow is a weekend and it's a Saturday, the event is celebrated here. And President Boakai has again congratulated women in public service, even in private service, Liberian women in general. And also he's wishing our dear mother, the First Lady of the Republic of Liberia, Mrs. Katumu Yata Boakai, happy International Women's Day, and all women and girls in our borders. And also from ourselves here, we want to wish all of our sisters and friends and women and advocates who've been doing this work of highlighting the work of women, the role of women, and the challenges, structural barriers that are hampering women's growth and development, to say happy International Women's Day. With that being said, we'd like to welcome a new member of the press corps from the Ikwara newspaper, Ms. Lomia. I want to welcome you to officially to the Executive Mansion Press Corps. It's the first briefing, I'm told, and welcome to the team. We look forward to engaging with you. President's Week have been really busy as always, and this week has been busy as well with a number of different things that the President has done. As you know, the President has signed Executive Order number 145. As you know, earlier last year, the President did set up a task force for assets recovery and property retrieval, and that task force worked diligently to identify, look for, and find assets that are of the Liberian public, and to ensure that they're retrieved and given back to the government. So that executive order got expired, and the President has renewed the executive order. Also, during the course of the week, the President commissioned additional officials of government, including the Executive Governor and Deputy Governor for Operations for the Central Bank of Liberia, as well as ambassadors who will represent Liberia in different countries. And he have expressed his appreciation to all the representatives and representation of the government, and also have asked our ambassadors who are taking on this new mantle to really highlight Liberia's role, but to also support and be an advocate for Liberia's bid for the non-permanent seat of the United Nations. And he wants those members of the diplomatic community representing our country to advocate, lobby, and ensure that Liberia gets the seat at the United Nations Security Council non-permanent position. Also, during the course of the week, the president had his first cabinet meeting of the year. The cabinet meeting highlighted a number of things, including the reintroduction or informing the public of the investigation of court cases. As you can recall, during the course of the campaign, those were some of his promise to the Liberian public, that mischievous and mysterious deaths will be investigated. And he asked the Ministry of Justice to relook at those cases to ensure that their justice is served, and the missing boys as well. And he's really very clear on those. And the cabinet meeting highlighted our current stance and the challenges with the resource part, especially with the cancellation of some projects that's done by our partner or supported by our partners. And in that cabinet meeting, to talk about some of the areas that have been affected, for example, health, education. However, because USAID and other partners support is a significant one, however, the government is really very keen on looking inward and finding resources and re-strategizing on creating a system that will support those areas or programs that will be affected by the freeze of our partner institutions. And the president is very clear on those, and his financial management team are working diligently. In fact, there was a full-scale investigation done, a study done, to know to what extent this freeze or the withdrawal will impact our structure and system and our programs and our governance, and also prefer solutions and recommendation. But most importantly, the galvanization of local revenue and looking internally, cutting down, managing resources will be high on the plan for the government. And also relooking at the budget and readdressing those areas, those key areas that are of human impact. Earlier today, the president had a meeting with the special envoy from Tanzania, special envoy representing the president of Tanzania, Her Excellency Madam Suluhu Hassan, sent the former president, His Excellency Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete, to His Excellency, and there are lots of conversations had around looking forward to our engagement, but also our bid was also a highlight of the meeting. And we will be updating the public as well on those conversations in specific terms. The president is currently headed to attend a memorial service of Professor Charles Sterner. The president is headed to be a part of the memorial service that's happening at the United Methodist Church, the first United Methodist Church, to attend the memorial service of Professor Charles Sterner. Professor Sterner was a Swiss-born scientist and an educator and a pioneer who really was a key player in highlighting Liberia's wildlife conservation program. And this memorial is happening to have Liberians who have benefited from his tutelage, but more so from his contribution to the wildlife community in Liberia. He died, Professor Sterner died on September 4th, 2024, and he's since been buried in Switzerland. But because he played tremendous and significant role in Liberia, especially the education and scientific sector, and also his contribution to the education of young people interested in animal science, zoology, and others. His memory is being recognized, and President Boakai will speak at the event shortly. And he sent his condolences to the Piri family. The wife of Professor Sterner is in town and mobilizing, working along with the Liberian community to undertake the funeral or the memorial program. And the president has sent his condolences to the family, and he would also do that more so in person at the program that's coming out shortly. Tomorrow, His Excellency will attend the celebration of another International Women's Day event, but this time with the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf Presidential Center for Women in Development. So tomorrow afternoon, the President will make remarks at that event, where he will bring greetings for the women. And as we can let you know, in country now, we have as guests of the EJS Center, His Excellency former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo, and the former Ethiopian President, Her Excellency Suli Wonk Zentwe, and then our President will also be there to bring greetings and to contribute to the discourse. And there are lots of other women in Liberia and other Amunji leaders who will be part of those activities. The event actually started on yesterday, and the President will participate on it tomorrow. So far, those are key updates I'd like to give all of you, and open up should you have questions or comments, so we can call this a day. Good afternoon, and thank you for coming. We'll take a few questions. You call your name, the institution you represent, and let us hear what you have to ask. Thank you. Yes, Moses, and welcome back, Moses.
Thank you very much. After when I report for I know you talked about program of ministers for significant function persons. One of the president's appointees is being found tempting to fraudulently obtain a degree from the as that information which the president is so we expect.
Yes, my name is Steven Sutton. I report for well, and the president did an investigation of the student documents of touching on the Joromosu Scout issue. And the that person, at the latter half of February, the president suspended ministers who did not meet their compliance with the LCC. Let them know how far it is, and so far what are those measures put in place, or what are those
Anthony Williams, and I just want to John Stephen regarding his question about the suspension of public officials.
So John Stephen?
John Stephen.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So basically, I want to know if the ministers, especially the ones who are suspended, if they are adhering to the asset declaration policies now. Are there ministers who are following through, who are declaring and reasonable payment?
Yes. They are still on to do a follow up on this on a breach of operation. The other day, asked the question when people know we work at a second national, always confront us what is happening in the third month, like in the third month, what is happening.
Yes, Madam. Yes, my name is Williams Levy, and I report from. Yeah, Madam, the President made a call to all his ministers to see a reason to begin creating jobs for ordinary people, because especially the young people. how well is this message personally to ministers?
Thank you all very much. I'll begin with the first question, or the last question from Reagan. Yes, I will say the president has mandated all of his ministers to really refocus and pay attention to creating opportunities for young people, especially so with the issue of the high rate of youth unemployment. So the Ministry of Youth and Sports and the Ministry of Education are both currently reworking and looking at the policy that they both outline on job creation program of TVET. You know, there's currently a lot of acts, particularly the TVET bill, that is going to ensure that young people have the necessary training. So with the training, you're able to look at placement and also the other short-term jobs that are coming up. I'm sure very recently you heard of the joint call for young people interested in programs of helping to clean the city. There was a whole recruitment happening last week with the Plainsville City Corporation and other partners who are recruiting young people. In fact, right now, they're concluding on the finalization of the list and those who will be selected. In few weeks or months, you will see young people actively engaged in helping to clean their communities and also doing other, work, especially those young people who may not necessarily have a degree or the requisite education, but it's a system of creating or giving them opportunities that they will be able to find something for themselves. Those are short-term mechanisms, and there are other long-term plan that is currently in stock. In terms of the significant impact, I can tell you USAID, in general, the aid community has been an interesting portion of support to Liberia. And yes, as I mentioned earlier, the significant component of the government's program in health, in education, and other issues that they've been supporting, including agriculture. And some of those programs have been put to stop. However significant, in fact, just yesterday, the Minister of Finance was informing the country about those plans that they've put in place and what form of realignment that's currently happening. Yes, it's going to have significant impact on the arrest agenda. However, the president has called all of his team members, especially the economic management team, to pay keen attention and re-strategize, because the arrest agenda for inclusive development is a 5-year plan for the government, and every year there's a shorter version to look at the current activities. And as you know, the one that's looked at now, there's going to be realignment, and priorities will be given to those critical areas. But more importantly, there's been a lot of discussion between members of the economic management team, for example, the revenue generating arm, the LRA, the Central Bank of Liberia, and other financial institutions to relook at our spending portfolio and also resource mobilization plan, to also look outside. Why the first priority, and the president has made it clear that Liberia's priority right now is to look at domestic revenue, cut down waste where they are, re-strategize and relook at internally resources that are available, but also look out for other partnerships with other business interests. And I can recall when we last spoke, when the president had returned from the WTO, from Addis, when he had a meeting with the WTO representative, was to also look at other possibilities for support from other partners, especially through trade instead of aid. Because for a long time, Liberia has relied on aid support, but now the conversation is shifting where the interest is more of trade than aid, and the economic management team is looking forward to it. So with the issue of the Cooper, the president has been following. You've heard, he was briefed about the current situation, and with the most recent action, and as soon as the University of Liberia team updates him, he will take the necessary action as deemed important by him. On the issue of the investigation, as someone asked about the mysterious death, the president did not pinpoint specific to say investigate this, investigate this, investigate this. The president mandated the Ministry of Justice and the team to look at all mischievous deaths, and deaths that have happened that have not had closure, investigations that have gone on without closure, because the families need closure, because the country needs closure to understand what happened in those cases. Even on the financial side, the information of the 16 billion, to have a conclusive end to those. So the president has mandated his team. So the team at the Ministry of Justice and all other investigative arms concerned with such an investigation, they will look at it and brief the president on those areas that they deem important. Because, in the gathering of evidence, in the investigation of matters, you can't just assume. You have to get all of the information and see what the cases were, what the challenges were, and, where there's a need to reopen, get witnesses, and, ensure that the investigation are conclusive. The president's interest is to have those investigations conclude and that the culprit be held accountable. In terms of compliance on the LSCC, I can tell you LSCC has been working very diligently with the people who didn't declare the assets. And yes, the suspension remains in place as the president announced for a period of a month. Even if they declare, so if the president announced today and you declare tomorrow, the 1 month suspension is still on, because the goal wasn't to just suspend and you comply, because you knew that this was you're supposed to declare your assets. So without compliance, you still remain under suspicion, even with compliance within a period of a month, because the point is about punishment. So that if people who still, even with the 1 month suspension, still do not declare assets, they will also be held liable, and other further actions will be taken against them. Whether or not particular ministers, I can inform you that, especially ministers' name who were called earlier, some of them said that they had declared their assets and they went forward to, show evidence that they had declared. So the Ministry of State also informed the LSCC they had to update the list and issue. But that work is active. And LSCC team will be updating the president as to the status and current stand. Once we receive the information, we'll be able to let you know where we are and what next step the president is going to take on that. About the meeting with meeting up, I'm not sure, on the overhead bridge. Yes, in fact, during the cabinet meeting, the Ministry of Public Works briefed the president and the cabinet on active works happening across the country. And I can safely inform the Liberian people that the team at the Ministry of Public Works is really working hard. During this course, as we speak, there are road works happening. Places will be made passable so that they will withstand the upcoming rain season. And in the coming years, you will see a lot of road work happening. Conversations are happening around securing finances to open new corridors. In fact, this morning when I was coming to work, I saw Ministry of Public Works team. Currently, as we speak, maybe some of you should find time to follow through with them. They're opening alleys as well. I just passed on Randall Street. I saw the yellow machine going through and breaking structures who have built in the alley, and that's one of the things that's going to happen consistently, because you want to ensure that the places are laid out and waterways are opened up so that you can have flood during the course of the rain. But specifically to the question of the overhead bridge, one of the issues that have happened, they've completed payment according to the minister of people who built, and you'll see a lot of removal of structures who are in the way, and the team already on ground to ensure that they begin that as soon as possible. With the road in Rabosport, Medina to Rabosport Road, the team is currently there doing a final T so that they will begin the laying of the road. The pavement process will start very shortly, as the president mentioned, this month. I think so far we concluded on the first set. If you have any other question or follow-ups, please. Yes.
Sure, Madam. Anthony Williams here again. a few months back, we were informed of Mr. President's intention for the country. President still getting a role anytime soon.
Okay. Yes,
So
someone.
as a follow-up to suspended officials, the president in the latter part of last year suspended the LIS Commissioner General's example in the 3 months period has elapsed. Have they been by the president to reinstate the Commissioner General of the LIS?
Yes. Just a follow-up again to I heard you talk about the president's acts as the government was on. What are those areas that are deemed critical now? President is asking for his government after critical areas for what solving. What are those most critical areas now the president is reinforcing?
Okay. Any further question? Okay. So the question on the county tour. Yes, the president still plans on visiting the county, and as soon as the schedule, because like I mentioned the last time, and when someone asked about specific date, I did say that, with this president's schedule, you plan something today and something else comes up. So until the plan is completed, the specific dates are announced. But the plan is the president is going to have his county tour happening. And as soon as everything, all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, we'll definitely inform you on the scheduling and what's going to happen and where he's going to begin the county tour from. On the question of Honorable Steve Zago, whether or not he's going to be reinstated, please be informed that the suspension remains, and the president is reviewing that. If and when it happens, I will let you know. But as it is, as yet, he still remains under suspension until the president decides the next course of action. As to the critical areas, I'll just come back to what was discussed in the meeting, the cabinet meeting with His Excellency. Like I did mention, the areas of the health sector was impacted, agriculture, but some of the areas that the president is clear on is on human security, the security of the country, the security of the people, intervention that are required for high level or high risk areas. More importantly, there are interventions currently happening, and with the infrastructure projects, the roads work is going to continue. Even with the presentation that was made, the minister, majority of the activities you see, funding have been secured, and work is happening, and they will continue on those footing. Agriculture, the president is keen on his agriculture program and plan. In fact, just this year, last week actually, he had a guest from South Korea who had come to also further discuss, pretty much an investor interested in the agriculture sector, and in showing that jobs, financial and agriculture sector and other things are going to look forward to. The impact, yes, it may be challenging or very important. However, the government is in charge. The government, because the budget wasn't, most of the aid that comes from USAID and other places do not necessarily come as a budgetary support. So most of the things that were outlined in the budget, the aid portion from USAID and others who suspended were not part of that, and because of that, they're still going to see. And the other thing about it, most of the issue and challenges, such as Liberians who were employed with USAID. That's something that was discussed, and to see what kind of support can be given, and even be able to incorporate some critical people who were in those spaces. Some were being in different training programs. Some Liberians were being trained in and out of the country. Some of those programs have been cut. But the Ministry of Education, they're all assessing the portion of, it is an active conversation happening. But most importantly, the president and his team are very much confident that it's an important time. And some of the USAID programs and funding also come with American jobs, American companies. They come to, implement some of the programs. They are, provide the care and services, because sometimes when you hear the numbers, for example, you will believe that, oh yes, but sometimes most of it go to the American community, the people who come on those jobs. Yes, the sector is critical, they support the different programs, but yes, the impact is significant. The government is in charge, and the Ministry of Finance is heading the financial management team portion, where they're able to see and make the case for reassessing and cutting down where necessary, and supporting those other sectors, that will be like the job loss. Of course, it's significant for Liberians. They need to look at readjustments plan, and there have been some critical suggestions on what to do, but the team is in full charge of it. And I can safely say that we will be able to make up for, the impact that will have. And this is something that the president has said and is going to happen. I think so far so good. We're on course, and this is not a doomsday. Yes, if someone is funding you on certain programs, yes, for example, the school feeding program, USAID was one of the key funders of that, and I can safely say yes, it's going to be impacted. However, it's now time the Ministry of Agriculture, another team, and the Ministry of Education working together to see what are other possibilities to support that, how the government can support and fund so that we can have a job up. Because yes, in the rural parts, most of the kids go to school because they're expecting mirror meals, for example, to bring food for them. But if it's not happening on that scale, they'll say, oh, today no food. So, but that's where now the government is coming in to see, especially that critical component, of the education sector, to say we have to readjust and put resources in this program so that the program doesn't continue. It may not be on that scale, but at least because it's a critical component, so that's why it's important to, fill out in those areas. And there are other, critical issues and areas that are also being considered in the health sector, those programs that have come, down, the impact will be there, but the government will adjust and readjust and look internally. That's what the president has said from day one. The resources are here. We just need to cut down waste, fight corruption, and put in, the necessary institutional structure so that things will work out fine. So thank you all so much. Yes.
One aspect. The other day, we were in the President Ivy, he spoke on leakages when it comes to the money section. Is it now worrisome? That SAID is coming, is it not?
I don't know, when you say leakages in the mining sector, it's kind of big, but
you said that a lot of people are out there and that doing illicit money.
Okay.
It's enough.
All right. I think when he spoke on leakages, he was speaking on something else. But on the mining and energy sector, when the president spoke, the president was keen on our natural resources and the safety of our boulders, and safety of our communities, and making it possible, because there are places that you may not have roads to go there, but because you have resources, you have natural resources on that part. For example, gold, there are lots of illicit mining going on in the sector. So he was speaking specifically to the mines and energy team, as well as the public works team, so that they're able to work diligently to open the road, to open corridors, and that security personnel and sectors are able to go there and work on, those programs and structures.
I said that I wanted to say Happy International Women's Day to you and the rest of your colleagues.
Thank you all, and Happy International Women's Day to all of you. And to the men too, to he for she's here. Please ensure today, take care of all these journalists here today. Today's their day. You do their best. Take care of them. Make sure you give them lunch. Today's Friday. All right. Have a wonderful time, all of you.